Good morning to you all. If you struggle with binge eating too much bullshit junk food, or you're overweight and want to lose weight and you don't understand why it's so difficult and why you're just so addicted to eating this highly processed or calorically rich food, and you want to stop and you want to be healthier and lose some weight but also enjoy food, I really think this video and what I've learned about human evolution around food and calories, hello doggy, and psychology. You know, I've listened to so many podcasts and read so many books about this topic on my journey with food, and so I want to share it, and I really think this is going to help a lot of people. So we evolved as humans. Most of our human time, you know, humans are 200,000 years old, our species, and for 199,000 of those, we were practically wild animals, right? Sure, we started to have civilizations a few thousand years ago, but the 99% or 98% of our human existence, we were pretty much out in nature without farms, without supermarkets, without restaurants. We were literally hunting and gathering food in order to survive. And in nature, as you can see, when you go take a walk out anywhere in nature, the trees are not constantly dripping with fatty avocados and the sweetest mangoes, and there's grass everywhere. This is not calorically rich at all. It's full of fiber. There's barely any calories in so much of the wild world. So we evolved because survival is really just having sex, reproducing, and in order to do that, you have to eat food to survive. So we evolved to be addicted and obsessed with food. That's why every wild animal you see, most of the time, they're trying to find food because they don't shop at a grocery store. They have to get sufficient calories from nature, from wild nature. So oil and sugar and processed food, flour, stuff like that, is more calorically dense and rich than whole foods that exist in their whole form, like a whole apple or a piece of kale. Not as calorically rich. So we're literally in our modern world today, with all the options we have for food and restaurants and all that, we're fighting against our biology and our psychology and evolution, because we're still programmed in our monkey brains to, when we see calorically rich food, we think this is good for our survival. And so we are addicted and want to eat it, because that's how life was for 99% of the human species history, except recently, where now when you're addicted to processed foods, it bites you in the ass. You actually get heart disease and diabetes and cancer and get obese. When you eat calorically rich foods, high calories, you literally get a dopamine hit, and we can't change that. That's how we evolved. That's every single human. Dopamine is literally the chemical that makes you happy. And I'm not saying any of this like it's my theory. I've read books like The Pleasure Trap, Dr. Lyle and Alan Goldhammer. Read that book, talking about how when you take a food like potato, which is a very healthy food, which in its whole form is not that calorically dense compared to a processed food, but you put salt, oil, and sugar on it, or even just salt and oil, like a French fry, you turn that food, which wasn't as calorically rich, into a way more calorically rich food, and you will get more dopamine released in your brain. This shows we're all addicts. We're all junkies. We're literally just addicted from our evolution to, and there's nothing you can do about it, to being addicted to getting dopamine in your brain, which is just happiness chemical. We're just bags of chemicals reacting to what's going on. And when you eat salt, oil, and sugar in high quantities, it releases so much dopamine, because out in nature, when you found those kinds of foods, that means survival. But we're in the opposite situation now, where we have too much of it and it's making us sick. So the next time you know that let's say you're one of these people who think that you are too addicted to junk food, you're eating too much, you're annoyed by it, you're like, why am I in this state of being where I'm always just obsessed with food? Just remember, it's not your fault. It's evolution's fault. It's your choice if you want to adapt in this modern world and say, all right, I have to literally live against my evolution every single day if I want to be fit and happy and lose weight and be healthy. Because if we just acted based on our evolution around this dopamine hit, around salty, oily, sugary, processed foods, we will get obese. And guess what? 2/3 of civilized world, of civilization, buenos dias, 2/3 of adults in or I think just 2/3, maybe even kids, but probably adults in developed countries are overweight or obese. So this is just proof that most of us have a hard time fighting against our evolution in this modern world, and it's hard for us to practice moderation and discipline because we have access to all these foods that we've evolved and been programmed to be addicted to, but they're making us sick. So my advice to you, now you understand why we're so obsessed with these foods. Buenos dias. So now if you understand, that it's not your fault, it's not anything special, that you're not a disciplined person, it's just our evolution. The next time you go and you see some of those stimulating foods and want to eat them versus a whole food, which is less calorically dense, like an apple or a mango or a sweet potato or a piece of broccoli, or literally any whole food that's not processed, usually is not as calorically dense. Of course, there's exceptions like avocados and nuts and stuff, but you should limit those things. I believe in a whole food, plant-based diet based on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, starches, and a little nuts and seeds. And the next time you feel that addiction coming into your head, that you want to eat this highly stimulating, highly calorically rich food, but you know that it's not serving you on your health journey, literally say to yourself, I only want this food because I evolved to think that this food is good for my survival, but I now know, because I listened to Jackson's video, that this is actually hurting me and making my life worse, and I happen to live in this modern world, and it just is what it is, and so I have to fight my evolution, and instead of eating the super highly processed foods, I have to eat something that is not going to release as much dopamine, a whole food, but is healthier for me and less calorically dense. And you don't want to be an addict or a junkie, so let's not live our life just based on the higher dopamine hit, happiness drug, happiness chemical, which we get from processed foods. And I'm going to eat something that's going to give me less dopamine, like an apple or a steamed pumpkin or whatever, but it's going to make you happier in the long term when you're enjoying your life and you're healthy and you're fit and you have more confidence and you're reducing your risk of cancer and heart disease. So you have to have that conversation with yourself, or you're always going to just succumb to our dopamine-based junkie addiction, which served us for the first 99% of our human history, but now we're in this situation where it doesn't serve us anymore, and that's the truth. If you disagree with this video, please let me know in the comments. I think it's super obvious and truthful. Let me know. Much love, Dream Extreme. You got this.